March 15, 1994, BBC Studios, London. Kurt Cobain gave the last interview of his life. For 45 minutes, he told us things we never heard: divorce plans from Courtney, secret will for Frances, decision to leave the music industry. But this interview was never broadcast. 30 years later, retired BBC producer James Mitchell confessed they destroyed that interview. Kurt had said very dangerous things. This lost interview provides critical clues to understanding Kurt Cobain's true thoughts, because Kurt that day spoke not just as a musician, but as a human being who feared for his life and was trying to tell the truth. BBC Studios London was one of the world's most prestigious media centers in 1994. World-reaching programs were produced daily at the Television Centre complex. Rock music programs were especially popular on BBC Two, and major artists regularly gave interviews. James Mitchell was a senior producer at BBC at the time. Mitchell, who had 15 years of experience, had worked with many legendary musicians from David Bowie to Pink Floyd. His professional reputation was excellent, and he specialized in directing challenging interviews. Mitchell's career was brilliant. Oxford University graduate, started as a journalist at Reuters, moved to BBC in 1985. His mastery in rock star interviews was particularly recognized. He was famous for gaining musicians' trust and getting sincere statements. Mitchell's major achievements included David Bowie's iconic 1987 interview, Pink Floyd's Rare Group interview, and the Rolling Stones backstage documentary. These projects gave him legendary status within BBC. The Kurt Cobain interview would be the most important project of Mitchell's career. Nirvana's popularity was at its peak, and Kurt rarely gave detailed interviews. BBC getting this interview was a major success. Mitchell's special approach was this: building trust relationships with artists, providing comfortable environments, and creating sincere conversation atmosphere. Thanks to this method, he managed to get personal confessions from many musicians. According to Mitchell's 2024 confession, the interview took place under very unusual conditions. Kurt's management made very specific demands. They wanted minimal crew, secret location, special security measures. BBC management had accepted these demands because a Kurt Cobain interview would bring big ratings. However, these conditions worried Mitchell because they required deviation from normal procedures. According to Mitchell's confession, after 30 years of silence in 2024, Kurt's condition that night was very concerning. When Kurt came to rehearsals, he seemed very tense. He didn't have the normal rock star attitude. He constantly checked his surroundings and showed paranoid behaviors. On the afternoon of March 15, 1994, Kurt Cobain arrived at BBC Studios. Only his personal assistant was with him. There was no normal entourage. Kurt's appearance surprised Mitchell. Mitchell's first impression was, Kurt seemed very calm. He wasn't the anxious, tense rock star we were used to. It was as if he had made a major decision and was a peaceful person. Kurt's behavior during pre-interview preparation was remarkable. Kurt examined the studio in great detail. He asked about camera angles, checked sound equipment. It was as if he wanted to make sure everything was being recorded. The strangest detail was Kurt's specific request. Kurt said, multiple copies of this interview should be made. He wanted them stored in different locations. This was very unusual. The interview began at 2 p.m. Mitchell's plan was a 30-minute standard interview, but Kurt turned out to be very talkative. It was very different from normal Kurt Cobain interviews. According to Mitchell's notes hidden for 30 years, the interview covered these topics: personal life, music industry, future plans, relationship status. But Kurt's answers were shocking. The first bombshell revelation was about Courtney Love. Kurt said, "My marriage with Courtney is ending. I'm meeting with a divorce attorney. I'll fight for Frances' custody." This statement shocked Mitchell because Kurt and Courtney's relationship was portrayed as stable in the media. There was a huge gap between public image and reality. Kurt also explained the reasons for divorce. "Courtney only married me for money. Now she thinks my death would be more valuable. While I'm alive, I'm an obstacle to her." The second shock revelation was about the music industry. Kurt said, "This industry is corrupt. Major companies exploit artists. I've decided to get out of this system." Kurt also detailed specific future plans. Kurt said, "I'll record a solo acoustic album. I'll work with an independent label. I'm trying to get free from major label contracts." The most striking revelation was about death threats. Kurt said, "People want me dead. for financial reasons. My death is more valuable than my life. This was a very specific accusation. Mitchell asked if these accusations were serious. Kurt said, "I have evidence, documents, recordings, witness testimonies. Everything is documented." Kurt also specified the identities of those threatening him. Not just Courtney, the people behind her. Big money is involved. Music rights, life insurance, future earnings. The statements about Frances Bean were very emotional. Kurt said, "Frances is my priority. Her safety is my biggest concern. Some people might hurt her to hurt me." Kurt also talked about secret will preparation. Kurt said, "I created a special trust fund for Frances. Courtney can't access it. Frances will learn every detail when she turns 18. The most mysterious statement was this. Kurt said, "If something happens to me, this interview will be critical evidence. People will finally understand the truth." Kurt also talked about secret deals in the music industry. Major companies make more money from artists' deaths than their lives. Dead artists are more profitable because there's no new contract costs. Mitchell found these statements very disturbing. Kurt was analyzing his own potential death from a business perspective. Very cool-headed, but creepy. Kurt also revealed his secret plans. "I'm working to transfer my music rights to Frances. Courtney shouldn't be able to touch any of them. I'm creating legal protection." The most striking detail was Kurt's security concerns. "I constantly feel like I'm being followed. My phones are being wiretapped. My house is under surveillance. I'm not paranoid. These are real threats." Kurt also explained the motivations of those threatening him. Millions of dollars are at stake. Catalog value of music, posthumous sales, film rights. Living Kurt is an obstacle to this money. The interview also included Kurt's statements about his father, Don Cobain. "I'm trying to reconcile with my father. I want Frances to know her grandfather. Family is important." Kurt also mentioned his mother. "My mother, Wendy, is a strong woman, but she's afraid of Courtney. I'm trying to give her courage to stand up to her." He also talked about childhood traumas. "The years in Aberdeen were very difficult, but those pains strengthened my songs. Pain can be the source of art." The most personal revelation was about fatherhood. "Frances is the meaning of my life. I'm trying to stay clean for her, to be a good example. Drug addiction is over." The last revelation was the most prophetic. Kurt said, "Death might be better than living lies, but I'll fight for Frances. She deserves the truth about her father." The interview ended at 2:45 p.m. Mitchell was very impressed, but also concerned. Kurt had made very serious accusations. BBC's legal team had to review this content. After the interview ended, Kurt gave a personal message to Mitchell. Kurt said, "This interview could save my life. Please make sure it gets broadcast." It was a very emotional moment. Mitchell started post-production that day. He reviewed the interview content and realized its extraordinary nature. Kurt hadn't given a standard celebrity interview. There were serious allegations and confessions. The next day, Mitchell reported the content to his supervisor. BBC management immediately became concerned. Legal implications were very serious. The accusations needed to be verified. BBC's legal department reviewed the interview. The reaction was immediate and decisive. The legal team said, "This content cannot be broadcast. The libel risk is too high." Mitchell tried to protest. "I said, this is important journalism. There's public interest." But the decision was final. BBC management's rationale was clear. Courtney Love and other parties threatened legal action. BBC's reputation was at risk. The interview was officially shelved. Mitchell was given strict instructions. The legal team said, "Don't make copies. Don't discuss the content." It was a career-threatening situation. The master tape was locked in BBC's vault. Mitchell's access was revoked. The security team took control of vault access. "I couldn't access my own work anymore." Weeks later, Mitchell noticed other strange developments. Kurt Cobain-related content began to be censored on BBC. There was a systematic suppression pattern. Quietly, new policies were implemented within the company. Kurt Cobain interviews began to require special approval. A censorship mechanism was established. BBC senior executives evaluated the situation in periodic meetings. According to meeting notes, Cobain content was classified as a sensitive topic. A few close colleagues of Mitchell knew about the situation, but were afraid to speak. Camera operator Susan Davis and sound engineer Mike Roberts were buried in silence. When Kurt's death news came in April, Mitchell was devastated. Kurt's warnings had come true. The interview had been prophetic. Mitchell immediately pressured BBC management to release the interview. "I said, now this is critical evidence. The public should hear this." But BBC's position became even more defensive. Management said, "We won't exploit tragedy. We'll respect family privacy." The real reason was different. Mitchell learned later. Powerful interests had pressured BBC to make the interview disappear. Mitchell lived with this decision throughout his career. "For 30 years I thought about that interview. We had ignored Kurt's cry for help." BBC internally began to deny the interview's existence. It was never mentioned in official records. It was as if it never happened. Mitchell applied to his supervisors several times to restore the interview. Every attempt was blocked. "No such interview exists," was the official line. When Mitchell approached retirement in 2010, he made his last attempt. "I told the legal department, the statute of limitations has expired. It's safe to release now." The answer was the same. BBC continued to maintain there's no record of such an interview. They had adopted a complete denial strategy. In 2024, Mitchell finally decided to speak publicly. "Career protection is no longer important. I want to clear my conscience." Mitchell's revelation created a bombshell effect. BBC immediately went into damage control mode and published an official statement saying, "Mr. Mitchell's claims are unsubstantiated." But Mitchell presented evidence, personal notes, technical records, colleague testimonies. "I had documented everything." BBC technical staff began to support Mitchell. Sound engineer Mike Roberts said, "James is telling the truth." I remember that session. Roberts gave additional details. Kurt's voice was very clear and calm. He didn't have the tense rock star attitude. It was as if he had been freed from a great burden. Other BBC employees also came forward. Camera operator Susan Davis said, "It was an unusual session. Security was very tight. Davis's memories were important." The way Kurt looked at the camera was different. It was as if he was giving a message to future generations. BBC archive specialist Tom Bradley also confirmed Mitchell. "There are gaps in 1994 records. Some materials have been deliberately removed." Bradley's technical analysis was important. Specific content is missing during digital transfer, not normal procedure. BBC retired editor Margaret Stone also provided support. Extraordinary censorship decisions were made during that period. There were high-level pressures. Stone's memories were critical. After the Cobain interview, extra attention was ordered in all music programs. A self-censorship atmosphere was created. Music journalist David Walsh supported Mitchell's credibility. James was always a meticulous professional. It's not in his character to make up such claims. Walsh's additional insight. There were strange pressures in the music industry in 1994. Major labels were very nervous about artists telling too much truth. Media industry analyst Dr. Sarah Chen identified the corporate censorship pattern. BBC's behavior is classic damage control, a systematic effort to bury the truth. Chen's research was important. Similar cases have been documented in other media corporations. When artist truths threaten corporate interests, they get silenced. Francis Bean Cobain's legal team started active investigation. They're developing a comprehensive strategy to protect their father's intellectual property rights. Legal source revealed, the Cobain estate is demanding not only the interview, but all related materials from BBC. They're pressuring for full transparency. International media attention also increased. Rolling Stone magazine published a feature article. BBC's alleged cover-up is creating concern in the international journalism community. The Guardian newspaper took an editorial position. As a public service broadcaster, BBC has transparency obligations. Mitchell's allegations deserve serious investigation. After Mitchell's revelation, copycat cases emerged. Other retired media professionals began claiming the existence of similar suppressed content. Former ITV producer Jennifer Walsh came forward. "We had a similar situation with a different artist. This is an industry-wide problem." Walsh's account corroborates Mitchell. Major labels and management companies suppress unfavorable content by applying pressure to media. Mitchell is now considering legal action against BBC. Under the Freedom of Information Act, the public has the right to access this material. Mitchell's attorney David Thompson states there's a strong case. As a public corporation, BBC is under transparency obligations. If the interview's existence is proven, they must broadcast it. BBC's current position continues to be defensive. The company continues to say there's no evidence of the alleged interview. BBC Director General Tim Davie, in a written statement, Mr. Mitchell's 30-year-old claims cannot be verified. We have no such material in our archives. But leaks from inside BBC tell a different story. An anonymous BBC employee source revealed that there are unexplained gaps in the restricted vault section. Technical staff also have concerns. During digital archiving, certain periods were deliberately omitted. This suggests a systematic deletion pattern, but public pressure is increasing. A petition was started to investigate BBC's vaults. More than 50,000 signatures were collected. Sarah Miller, who organized the online petition, made a passionate plea. Kurt's voice has been silenced for 30 years. This investigation is necessary for BBC's accountability. Miller's campaign went viral on social media. The hashtag Release Cobain interview hashtag trended worldwide. Celebrity support also began to come. Chris Novoselic shared a statement on Twitter, "If Kurt gave a final interview, the world deserves to hear it. Transparency over corporate protection." Dave Grohl made an emotional post on Instagram. Kurt's truth, whatever it was, shouldn't be suppressed. BBC should do the right thing. Public pressure is increasing. Protests were organized outside BBC headquarters. Hundreds of fans demanded the interview's release. International journalism organizations also expressed concern. The Committee to Protect Journalists released a statement. This case could set a precedent for media transparency. The European Broadcasting Union began investigating. BBC membership standards include transparency requirements. This could constitute a violation. Mitchell's legal team gathered additional evidence. Production schedules, studio booking records, technical logs, everything confirms the pattern. Forensic document analyst Dr. Robert King examined Mitchell's notes. Handwriting analysis and paper dating confirm 1994 origin. It appears authentic. King's technical analysis was powerful. Mitchell's documentation style is consistent with professional broadcast journalism standards. Fabrication possibility is minimal. BBC's Board of Governors called an emergency meeting. Pressure is increasing to launch an internal investigation. It's becoming a public relations disaster. The government's Culture Committee also became involved. MPs are raising questions about BBC accountability in Parliament. Committee Chair Maria Thompson made a statement. BBC operates with public funds. Transparency is a non-negotiable requirement. Financial implications are also emerging. License fee payers are demanding full accountability from BBC. Trust is beginning to erode. Market research shows public confidence in BBC is declining. A recent poll showed 60% of respondents think BBC is failing on transparency. Mitchell has now become an international figure. Media interview requests are coming from multiple countries. The story has attracted global attention. Mitchell gave a live interview on CNN. The world needs to hear Kurt's final words. BBC has a moral obligation to reveal the truth. BBC's response appears increasingly desperate. Multiple PR firms have been hired for damage control. Crisis management mode is active. Internal BBC emails leaked online. Correspondence shows panic-level discussions about managing the Cobain problem. Leaked email from senior executive, "This story must die quietly." All efforts directed to discrediting Mitchell. An anonymous BBC whistleblower provided additional information. Systematic destruction of controversial materials was routine practice during certain periods. The whistleblower's revelation was shocking. Not only the Cobain interview, but multiple other artist materials were deliberately destroyed. Mitchell feels vindicated. It's no longer just my word. A pattern of widespread suppression is emerging. Truth is slowly surfacing. Each new revelation strengthens Mitchell's credibility. BBC's position is increasingly untenable. The final outcome is still uncertain, but momentum is shifting. Public pressure, legal challenges, international attention, all converging against BBC. Mitchell is optimistic. Truth has a way of emerging eventually. Kurt's voice will be heard even 30 years later. The legacy question remains. This case could be a landmark for media accountability, corporate power versus public right to know. Kurt's lost interview is not just a historical artifact, it's an ongoing battle symbol for transparency and truth. Final truth, Kurt's message is still relevant 30 years later. Artistic integrity versus commercial exploitation, individual versus system, at the heart of eternal conflicts.